Sarve Sukhinas Santu, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkhama Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dear devotees and friends, today the weather is little different. The morning it was raining and there was thunderstorm and all that, and now it is so warm. But still, few of us have assembled over here in the Hall of Consciousness to listen to Dr. Mukesh Doshi, and he will be giving a talk on the Jainism. He is the chairperson of Interfaith community of Jain Associations of North America, which represents 72 Jain centers of USA and Canada. He is also a member of Jain Education Committee and Jain Academic Liaison Committee, and the past chairperson of Jain JNF MIS Committee. Dr. Doshi is the past chairman of the Board of Trustees and the past Education Secretary of the Jain Society of Chicago. He is one of the contributing editors of many of the Jain Pathashala books. He has been a teacher of Chicago Pathashala for the past 25 years and conducts advanced level workshops in Jain education. A recipient of Jain Adult Recognition Award, he has been nominated as a Jain scholar, and he has been invited to speak on many Jainism-related topics at various interfaith events and several schools and colleges. Many of us, we are known to the Buddhism, but very few they know about the Jainism. So unique concept, this Jainism, Ahimsa, nonviolence is the basic of this Jainism. And when we see everything is nothing but me, from the concept of the Vedanta, that is also the same concept, then how can I think wrongly about others, criticize others, harm others? That is the basic thing. We are eagerly waiting to listen to Dr. Mukesh Doshi ji. I humbly request him to come and present over here. Thank you, Mr. Doshi.
Namaskar. Thank you very much for inviting me here. Shivamastu sarva jagatah parahita nirta bhavantu bhutaganaha Dosha prayantu nasham sarvatra sukhinaha bhavantu. This is what Jainism is all about. Today, I do not intend to teach Jainism here, but as I was directed by Swamiji, we are going to talk about very briefly about what Jainism is and how, what is its role and relevance to modern society. Okay. So, Jainism is vastly unknown outside of India. Currently, Jains comprise about 0.2 to 0.3% population of India. Jainism, however, according to archaeological and historical evidences, should I wait a couple of minutes when let's have the guests be seated down? Thank you. According to historical and archaeological evidences, Jainism has existed at least for past 5,000 years. However, the Jain scriptures say that Jainism, at least in principle, has existed from eons. Why? Because modern scholars, including myself, I'm nowhere closer to a scholar of Jainism. We do not like to call Jainism as a religion. It is a philosophy. It is a way of living art. And if you look at from that perspective, Jainism has existed for many, many centuries. Swamiji said that Buddhism is very well known all over the world. Interestingly enough, Siddhartha Gautam Buddha and the 24th Tirthankar of Jains, Lord Mahavir, Tirthankar Mahavir, they coexisted at the same time. Tirthankar Mahavir was about 20 to 30 years senior to Buddha, and they both prevailed in the northeast state of India, Bihar. The Jainism as we know today is propounded by the 24th Tirthankar, Lord Mahavir. We call it Lord Bhagwan. But the way the definition of Bhagwan is in the Webster and Merriam-Webster and Oxford Dictionary is, it is that one who is the creative sustainer, individual, that supernatural, omnipotent, and omniscient being who is God, translated in Indian language as Bhagwan. But when we look at that definition, Jainism does not believe. So let me add one sentence here before I go there. The purpose of my today's talk is to give a brief introduction of Jainism. And in doing so, if I unknowingly hurt your feeling, it is purely unintentional. Michhami dukadam, as it says in Jainism. So if I do happen to hurt your fundamental belief or feelings, I am begging your pardon right now. So Jainism says that there is no creator and sustainer of the universe. And we're going to look at it today. The Tirthankar Mahavir was born in 599 BC and attained nirvana, liberation, in 527 BC. When we say the word Jain or the Jainism was derived way after Nirvana of Lord Mahavir or Tirthankar Mahavir. And the etymology of the word Jain comes from the root word Jaina. In English, people pronounce it as JAINA, but that is not the correct pronunciation. The root word is a JAINA. JAINA means the one who has attained victory. The victory of your enemies, which prevent you from attaining liberation. And your enemies are your passions. And we're going to look at it a little bit further down. So the Jain has attained victory towards his own inner enemies, which are primarily anger, greed, deceit. And upon attaining that victory, that soul has attained liberation. What are the basic tenets of Jainism? We're going to go very briefly. There is no creator, sustainer, or destroyer of the universe. There is no superpower, which I personally disagree. There is a superpower, and that superpower is you. You are the boss. You control yourself. It is I. My soul is the superpower, and my soul is no different than the soul of Tirthankar Mahavir or all those souls who have attained liberation. The only difference between my soul and the souls which have attained liberation is that those who have attained liberation, their souls are pure. Those souls have no attachment towards anybody, no hatred towards anybody. Those souls do not have any bondage of karma. While my soul, me, I have all the passions. I have anger, greed, ego, deceit, attachment, hatred, everything. But I am my own boss. I am my own superpower. And it is I and I only who can control over my passions and thereby remove all the bondage of karma on my soul and attain liberation and go sit right next to Tirthankar Mahavir in Mokshadhama. There is no beginning or an end to the universe. There is no creator and sustainer. So the universe has been there forever, will be there forever, just the way our souls are. What Jainism says that the universe is composed of 6 basic components, and one of that, which we call it as a universal components, and there are no more than these 6 things in the universe, and the very first one of that is known as a jiva, the living being, the soul. The number of souls present in the universe will always remain constant. Soul can never be, ever be destroyed or never, ever be created de novo. And the universe, therefore, cannot be destroyed nor be created. So how does the universe run? It runs on autopilot. In Jain language, they are known as a 5 samvai, which are the 5 things upon which the universe runs, and we can talk for 1 hour, but here I just want to briefly mention, which is the time, kala, inherent nature, which is the swabhava, destiny, which is prarabdha, karma, which is niyati, and self-effort, which is purushartha. What Jainism says that one cannot change the first 4 things, time, inherent nature, destiny, and karma. Karma can be changed with purushartha. If I do not do any purushartha to make myself better, to reduce the load of karma bondage on my soul, nothing ever going to happen. That karma will give its result sooner or later. They may be favorable or unfavorable. So not knowing what my karma is going to be, what my destiny is going to be, the only thing left out to us, the human beings, in Jainism, we are known as a Sangni Panchendriya. Sangni means the mind with a rational thinking. You, I, we all, cow, buffalo, lion, tiger, we all have five senses. The only difference between us and those animals is we are Sangni Panchendriya. We have a mind which can think rationally. And the only thing that rationally thinking mind needs to do constantly and incessantly is to be good and to do purusharth or keep on doing the self-effort of getting that load of karma bondage on the soul less and less, while making sure that our soul does not keep on binding more and more karma. There is a life after death, the universal concept of Hinduism, and it is dependent upon your karma. Every action of mind, speech, and body, it results in bondage of karma. So, until someone attains liberation, the mind will keep on working. Speech, we can control. Bodily action, we can control. But if mind keeps on working until that soul attains liberation, there will always be karma bondage. However, those super beings have the mind in their last moments before attaining liberation. It becomes shunya, zero. The way Swamiji is advising us during meditation, there is nothing in front of me. It is just the infinity, nothing but the eternal peace. And when that happens, the final load of karmic bondage goes away and the soul gets liberated, gets up in the upward direction to reside in Mokshadam forever and ever. For practical purposes, the basic tenets of Jainism, Swamiji mentioned, the very first one is the nonviolence, Ahimsa, truth, Asteya, non-stealing, Achaurya, celibacy, Brahmacharya, and non-possessiveness or non-attachment known as Aparigraha. Most of the people, including most of the Jains, they think that these are the five principles of Jainism. And to be a Jain, one has to follow these five principles. It is impossible to live a life for ordinary being like you and I while adhering to these five principles to the strictest possible sense. These five principles are supposed to be followed by monks and nuns to the fullest, while lay people like you and I, in Jain language, we call it Shravak for the male layperson and Shravika for the female layperson. We can adhere to this principle with several well-defined, predefined exceptions. So these five things are called Mahavratas. I hope all of you have some basic Indian language. The great vows, Shravak and Shravika, lay people, Ahimsa, minor vow of Asteya, minor vow of Achaurya, and so forth and so forth. So, let me go back to the previous slide once again. I have a lot of personal qualms about the way the Indian words are developed, if you will. If we look at the first word, ahimsa, the root word is himsa. which is the violence, as if violence is a norm of the society. Let's look at the second word, asteya, not to lie. So lying is the norm. Chaurya, stealing is a norm. I have a problem. I believe the root word itself, whatever the linguistic people should have developed, was for ahimsa, and then the derivative should have been himsa. There are very popular things known as 3 A's of Jainism, and we are now going to focus on the role and relevance of Jainism to modern society. The very first one is Anakanthwat. This word is made up of 3 words, anek, anta, vada. Anek means multiple, ant means a destination, and vada means a theory. We can translate it as multiplicity of the viewpoints. Ahimsa, of course, non-violence, and aparigraha, which is the non-possessiveness. These 3 A's of Jainism, we teach to our Jain kids all the time that forget about those 5 things. What we have to learn is how to adopt these 3 things in our daily life. Live like a Jain. As I said, Jainism is not a religion. Jainism is a way of life. Jainism is a way of living. Jainism is a way of loving. Jainism is a way of living the world. Jainism is laughing. Jainism, we have to live with those 3 principles, adapt it in our real life so that we can live. Forget about we can live like a Jain, we can at least live like a human being. We can live like Sangni Panchendriya. We all have a tendency to become a Sangni Panchendriya, like a dog and donkey, so many times in our life. What God has said that you are Sangni Panchendriya. You have a rational mind to think. Let us live like a human being. And when you live like a human being, you are Jain. You do not need to be born to Jain parents to be designated as a Jain. If you live by the principles which guide your life, which makes others happy, and then you are a Jain. We're gonna first look at Ahimsa. Every living being, no matter how small, has a soul. Jainism always has believed that 5 fundamental elements of nature, namely fire, air, water, earth, and vegetation, they all are living beings. Tirthankar Mahavir said this 2650 years ago, and it took up to 1942 BCE for an Indian scientist, Jagdish Chandra Bose, to prove that plant has a life, and he got the Nobel Prize. I'm sure in next 2000 years, people will prove that the rest 4 elements also have life. Higher evolved living beings, which are the Tras. Tras means those who can move around at their own free will. We should not hurt them. Harm to the 5 fundamental elements of nature known as a Sthavar Jeev. Sthavar are the ones who are unable to move from one place to other place at their own will. We should minimize their harm to the most minimal possible. We should remain vigilant in making sure that we do not harm these 5 fundamental elements of the universe. We should not cause harm to anybody, any living beings, in our mana, vachana, and by our kaya, in our thoughts, by our speech, and by bodily action. As I was saying, the ultimate state before liberation is to have infinity, shunya, in front of you, because mind is the manufacturing facility of our speech, of our actions. Whatever we think, if we are unable to do it by our actions during our waking hours, we dream about it. That's how bad the mind is. So once I was going on a road, and there was a big guy, 300-pounder, who came, and now I'm talking about back home in India when I was going on a bicycle. So that guy came and purposefully kicked my bicycle so that I fell down. I was 70, 80-pounder. Today I am a lot bigger than what I was at that time. In my mind, I thought that if I have a power, I'm going to kick and break his neck. But I did not. I couldn't do anything. All I could do is pick up my bicycle and get going. Imagine now I'm going in the same hometown in India on a bicycle, and a 70-pounder comes and kicks my bicycle. What I'm going to do? I'm going to break his neck if I don't control my mind. What happens in both the incidences, in the first incident when I could not do anything to that 200-pounder, I already wished him dead. There is a very interesting story from the time of the thinker Mahavir. There was a king by the name as a King Shrenika. In Buddhism, he is known as a King Bimbisar. There was a butcher in the town, and Shrenika goes to Tirthankar Mahavir and says, "Oh Bhagwan, I want to attain the punya which is attained by doing XYZ thing without doing it. Is it possible?" And Mahavir Swami did not give the straight answer. He said, "Yes, you can do it." "How? Bhagwan, please tell me." So Bhagwan tells him that there is a butcher in your town who is butchering 100 pigs every day. Tell that butcher not to slaughter any pig for 1 day, and you can attain the punya which you are talking about. And King Shrenika said, "Oh, that's very easy. I will do it." So the king goes back to his palace, calls his guardsmen, and says, "Go and catch that butcher." So they bring the butcher, and he locks him up in a cell. And king said that Bhagwan said, "1 day I'm going to do it for 100 days and make sure that butcher does not slaughter any pig." So he got locked up. Obviously, he could not slaughter any pig for those 100 days. So he goes back to Bhagwan and say, "Bhagwan, you told me to prevent the butcher from doing slaughter for 1 day, and I did it for 100 days. Bhagwan said, "Really? Okay, you know what? Go back to the same cell where you had locked up the butcher and just look what happens." So the king goes back to the jailhouse, opens up the cell, and sees, do you know what the butcher had done? He had drawn butcher pigs on the wall, and went like that. There were 100 he had done for 100 days. So even though he did not cause any physical violence, the violence was still constantly brewing in his mind. Had he had the ability to cause the violence he would have caused. And therefore, Tirthankar Bhagwan says that we should not cause any harm to anybody in our thoughts, by our speech, or by bodily actions. Some of the profound statement of Bhagwan Mahavir, all of the life is just like me, I want to live, and so do all the souls. The instinct of self-preservation is universal. Every living being clings to life and fears death. Each one of us wants to be free from pain, so let me carry out all my activities with great care so that I am not harmful to any living being. And that will be the ultimate practice of nonviolence. And that is the practice monks and nuns should follow. You and I, for our daily life, we have to buy vegetables, we have to chop vegetables, we have to take a bath. But how many of us, we save water when we take a shower? How many of us keep our faucets running when men are shaving or when we in general are brushing our teeth? Do we ever think that there is so much scarcity of water around the world and the natural resources that are only so limited? And preservation of these 5 fundamental elements of life is what Jainism has taught at least for the last 2,600 years. The second statement I would like to give out here is in Sanskrit, known as Parasparopagraha Jivanam. What it is translated as, all lives are mutually dependent on each other. And this was composed by very famous Acharya by the name Acharya Umaswati, about 300 to 400 years after Nirvana of Tirthankar Mahavir, in a treatise known as Tattva Sutra. The one who neglects or disregards the existence of earth, air, fire, water, and vegetation disregards his own existence. We harm and kill other lives because of our greed and possessiveness. Having said that, how does practice of nonviolence plays a role? What is its relevance to the modern world? Okay. Let me just keep this slide and I will come back to it if I have time. So Jainism has preached strict vegetarianism for eons. Let's now look at how vegetarian or vegan diet can solve all of President Biden's problem. President Biden and all the Democrats are talking left and right. You and I, when I had to fill up my wife's car yesterday, I had to shell out $100. The fuel prices I haven't seen here in USA since 1978, I believe, or even in 1978, it wasn't that expensive. So how can we solve all this problem? Simply by following what Tirthankar Bhagwan has taught us. This is according to USDA, US Department of Agriculture, the number of animals slaughtered every day. Cattle, 130,000. Of course, if you go back to the USDA website, you will see the daily numbers. So I have tried to take out the average, how many are slaughtered every day. 7,000 cows, 360,000 hogs, and 24 million chickens. And what is its impact on the environment? They consume more than half of the water in USA. To produce 1 pound of meat, we need 2,500 gallons of water. For 1 pound of wheat, we need 108 gallons. For 1 pound of rice, we need 229 gallons. And for 1 pound of potato, we need 60 gallons. Mind well, these numbers are not manufactured by me. You can go to USDA website and check out these numbers. The waste released by the meat and dairy industry in USA is 230,000 pounds per second. And the majority of this waste is because of the slaughtering of the animals. These animals, they have their excreta, which is responsible for the production of the methane gas. And methane gas is the one which causes the ozone layer. And if President Biden, instead of going to Saudi Arabia and Venezuela and Iran, I think he should spend more money in spreading vegetarianism in USA and veganism in USA. And that will bring down our oil prices down in less than 1 year. Because more than 3/4 of the agricultural land in USA is used for feed of the cattle. If we stop that, let me go back. 1/3 of the land, I'm sorry, I misquoted. 1/3 of land in North America is used for animal grazing and for growing feed for the animals. 40 pounds of vegetation is used to produce 1 pound of meat. So we can grow so much vegetarian food instead of producing cattle. 2% of USA crop is fruits and vegetable, while 64% of the crop is animal feed. 1 acre of prime land can give you 5,000 pounds of cherries, or 10,000 pounds of green beans, or 30,000 pounds of carrots, or 40,000 pounds of potatoes, and so on, but only 250 pounds of beef. And that is what we are talking about, the role and relevance of nonviolence in the modern society and in today's world. How we can solve world hunger. The deforestation of livestock. There are 220 million acres in USA and 25 million acres in Brazil, and half of the forest in Central America is destroyed every single year. And when those forests are burned down, what does it do? It is pollution. So, President Biden, I would urge you all, no, I'm joking. Write a letter, once again I'm joking, write a letter that instead of spending your efforts and money in producing more oil and going to other countries in production of oil and shutting down Keystone XL pipeline, I think our money gonna be well worth spent if we teach the world vegetarian and vegan diet. Okay, here is the fossil fuel. Fossil fuel used, 2 calories of fossil fuel used to make 1 calorie of protein from soybean. But look at the use of the fossil fuel. 78 calorie worth of fossil fuel is used to produce 1 calorie from beef. The numbers speak by itself. Once again, any of these numbers are not manufactured by me. These numbers are directly from USDA. Reducing meat and dairy consumption by 10% in USA, and grains and soy saved, which are used to feed the cattle, it can feed 60 million people per year. And incidentally, the starving people in the world are 60 million. Just by 10% of our population becoming vegetarian, we can solve the world hunger. Are we all part of it? Are we doing anything for it? And if not, it is about time we all wake up and we do something about it. Let's look at the second tenet, non-possessiveness or non-attachment. The word given in our scripture, or those people who started translating our Jain scriptures, which were originally written in Prakrit language, and the dialect used was known as Urdu Magadhi. And when they translated these things, and I'm included in it, because our effort for the last 20 years is to make the Jain scriptures available in simple English language, which our children can understand. So I do take part of the blame. We translated it into non-possessiveness. In my opinion, the correct word is a non-attachment, or parigraha. It is the attachment which makes us unhappy. Before going that, okay. Our goal is to get happiness. The happiness, as I know, is always a short-lived happiness. When I teach our Pathashala students, I ask them, what is happiness? I became very happy today because my wife cooked a very nice lunch for me. And I was very happy. And tomorrow, my wife did not have a time to cook any lunch for me, and I become very unhappy. Where are we getting that happiness from? We are getting that happiness from external entities, whether they are tangible entities or intangible entities. I love my wife dearly. She makes me very happy. God forbid, I hate to say that, tomorrow she becomes sick and I become unhappy. Why did I become unhappy? If I had never married, I would not have a reason to become unhappy. So we look at happiness in a perspective, our soul's real nature is to be happy. Jainism says the soul's real nature is ananta avyabhada sukha, ananta infinite, avyabhada incessant or uninterrupted. Why our soul becomes unhappy? Because we give it an artificial reason to become happy. I buy very expensive jeans today, which I have always wanted to buy. And tomorrow I give it to the dry cleaner and dry cleaner accidentally damages it and I'm very unhappy. I'm unhappy. Why? Because I was previously happy. So if we look at a scale, there is a happiness here, there is an unhappiness there. Our soul's real nature is in the middle, which is a ananta avyabhada sukha, infinite, uninterrupted happiness, and that is what it is, which is the equanimity. Having no passions, no anger, no greed, no ego, no deceit, no attachment, no hatred. We move there from my nature of equanimity, I move to happiness because my wife cooked me a very good lunch. Or because I bought a pair of jeans today, which I have always wanted to buy. I moved from my equanimous status. And now what happens when tomorrow my wife does not cook me any lunch, or tomorrow the dry cleaner damages my jeans, what is happening? From that happiness state, I directly jump to unhappiness. Our goal is to remain in the middle. And that is what Jainism preaches. That whenever we desire, that desire makes you and I happy, but that happiness is always, always, always short-lived. When you go home, spend 10 minutes of time in a room without any disturbance, in a dark room, meditating, as Shravani was saying. And upstairs, we have a beautiful meditation room. Think when you were happy last time and when you were unhappy last time, and why you were happy and why you were unhappy. And you will realize that unhappiness always came from being not happy. We decided to move to the left from the status of equanimity to get that temporary happiness. We all know it is temporary, but we all run after that for no reason. And that is what the thinker Mahavir taught us. That non-attachment. It is not wrong for me to possess this phone, but that possession of my phone should not make me unhappy if I drop it. Have I reached that state? No, I haven't. I am probably 100 times worse than you, talking all these nice things here, looking very nice to you, but I am not. But our effort should be first to realize it, to accept it, and then try to put it in practice. The more and more we put it in practice, the more and more state of equanimity that we are going to achieve. Jainism says that there are 4 fundamental bhavna, or the reflections: the Maitri, friendship; Karuna, compassion; Pramod, which is appreciation; and the most important to me is the 4th one, known as a Madhyastha. Remain in that narrow tunnel of not becoming too unhappy or not becoming too much unhappy. And that is closer to the state of equanimity. And I believe in my further slides, it should talk about the same thing that I talked. Yes, that is the graph that I was talking about. So basically, we all want to be happy without knowing what that eternal happiness is. Our goal should be to attain that level of equanimity when our soul can go back to its own nature of ananta, avyabhada, infinite, uninterrupted, or incessant happiness. The root cause of all unhappiness is desire, which is the root cause of all our miseries. And we want to get rid of all those desires. And once we get rid of all those desires, we attain that state. It says in Jain language that samaik, which is sama-aik, sama means a state of equanimity. So what it says that without practice of samaik, ik means to bring in. Nobody has ever attained liberation or moksha. Nobody will ever attain moksha, because it is those desires which make our soul keep on binding more and more karma, which keep on making us bound in the cycles of birth and death for eternity. If we want to attain that eternal happiness, that is what we want. And let us say for that reason, if I'm going to ask you a question, if I give you 1 hour of happiness versus 1 month of happiness, your answer is naturally is going to be 1 month, right? And if I ask you, if I give 1 life of happiness versus eternal happiness, what will be our answer? Our answer will be we want eternal happiness. We all do, I do. But we still keep on running after that temporary happiness, whether that is tangible or intangible. Love to my wife is an intangible thing. But ultimately, my love to my wife should not be to a level that if something happens to us, I become so unhappy that I lose any interest in my life, forget about my own soul, and forget about my liberation. Okay. We are going to move on to the next principle known as Anakanthwat. And I would like to present a short video.
I recently came across this image and story and had to share it with you. The man in this picture doesn't know that there is a snake underneath. The woman doesn't know that there is a stone crushing the man. The woman thinks, I am going to fall, and I can't climb because the snake is going to bite me. Why can't he use a little more strength and pull me up? The man thinks, I am in so much pain, yet I'm still pulling you as much as I can. Why doesn't she try and climb a little harder? The moral is, you can never see the pressure the other person is under, and the other person can't see the pain you're in. This is life. Whether it's with work, family, feelings, or friends, we should try to understand each other a little more. Try to see the situation from the other person's point of view. Put yourself in their shoes. Learn to think differently. Be more open to other perspectives and opinions. A little kindness and patience goes a long way. Everyone we meet is fighting their own battle, some you will never hear about. You may wish other people would be more understanding and compassionate and helpful to you. So be all those things for other people. Lori Deshen once gave some priceless advice. She said, practice the pause. Pause before assuming. Pause before accusing. And pause whenever you're about to react harshly. You might avoid saying things you'll later regret. Be kind to each other.
So this is the theory of multiplicity of viewpoints. We all are so egoistic that I am right and you are wrong. We need to pause and think. We need to try to put our foot into the shoe of other person. So I'm going to bring another story here, and we're going to talk about it. There were 6 blind men who were taken to an elephant. They were blind from birth. And they were asked to feel whatever they do and then tell us what the elephant is like. So the first person who was touching the trunk said, it's like a snake. Second guy said, it is like a spear. He was touching the tooth. The third guy who was touching the ear said, it's a fan. Fourth guy who touched the leg, he thought it was like a tree trunk. Fifth guy said, it is a wall. He was touching the abdomen or the body. And the last guy said, it's a rope. And all the 6, they started fighting amongst each other. One said, no, it's like a rope, it's like a wall, it's like a spear. And you are standing there with your both the eyes open. So they say, you know what, we cannot see, but let's go to gentleman ABC and ask him who is right and who is wrong. So they go to gentleman ABC, and the ABC says, you all are right. Why? The motto here, what I saw here, and it instantly caught my attention when I was entering the premises here, and it says, truth is one, sages describe it in various words. The truth is always the truth. It is the absolute truth. It never ever changes. If it does change, it is not a truth. But you and I, we all have limited capability to understand and realize that truth. The truth and the whole truth and the absolute never ever changing truth is revealed to us by the one who is omniscient, the God. That is the truth. We waste our time in arguing with each other. I'm right and you are wrong. That is not the way it should be. Reminds me of one incident about 12, 15 years ago. I was invited for a dinner at my friend's house. And we were about 10, 12 couples. I was sitting at the corner, and there was a hot argument going on something between each other. Real hot. And I immediately started thinking why people argue. And I wanted to get some crude answer to that question. And then I said, we argue because I want to prove to you that I am right and you are wrong. Nobody likes to be proved wrong. Number two, I want to prove to you that I know more than you. Nobody likes that. Number three, I want to prove to you that you are stupid, you don't know anything. Nobody likes it. So why do we argue in the first place? If you don't want to learn something, how can I force you to learn something by my argument? You can take a horse to a pond, but you cannot make horse drink the water from the pond. But we keep on doing that all our life. We want to look at the other side of the coin. So what does Anakanthwat theory teaches us? So before we go there, what do you see here? I will have some people say they see a young lady. I will say some people, they see an old woman. And a very sharp individual will tell me that they see both. Same thing. What do you see here? Depending upon how you look at the thing. I was at a place, and my wife, my granddaughter, my daughter, they all were attending the place. And I was giving a talk like this, and somebody goes to my daughter and says, "Who is that?" She says, "He's my father." Somebody goes and asks my granddaughter, "Who is that?" And she says, "He's my grandpa." Somebody goes to my wife and asks, "Who is that?" And the answer is, "He's my husband." And somebody goes to my father and says, "Who is that?" And he says, "He's my son." Now, I'm the same guy. So they don't have a reason to fight. How can it be like that? The whole idea is to look at the perspective of the person from what they are talking about, and that is what the derivative of Anakanthwat, or the theory of multiplicity of viewpoint, is known as, and that is known as a Syatvad. Syat means predicament. Under the given fact, it is a hot day today, and suddenly Shravani was telling that it was so nice in the morning. It was 68 degrees, Shravani. It was so nice, and we call it as a very nice weather. It is nice and cold for this hot summer day. And in January, month of January in Chicago, we get a 68-degree day and we say, my God, it is so hot. It is the same temperature. It is the same location. You are the same person. On one occasion, we are saying 68 degree is a nice cold. And on other occasion, we are saying 68 degree is a nice and a hot day. Why? We don't say, you don't know what the heck you are talking about, because one day you are saying 68-degree temperature is a nice cold day, and another time 68-degree temperature you are calling as a hot day. I'm sorry. I will wrap it up after this. The other slides, probably they can be made available because it is 5 p.m. I am supposed to give you time for question and answer, but I believe we started 5 minutes late. So Shravani, may I please have 5 more minutes? Okay. So that is what Anakanthwat is. There is an element of truth. There may be an element of truth in every single statement. And none of the truth is the absolute truth. It is likely to change. The only absolute truth is the one which is revealed to us by the omniscient Lord. Thank you so much. I'm available for any questions you may have. I will try to answer them. Nobody? Yes, please. I'm deaf, so speak up loud. Jains are vegetarian.
But how do you feel? I mean, are you generally it's okay to drink milk and things like that, dairy products?
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Very important question. We have a lot of movement going on towards veganism. In old days, the milk was obtained in a very humane way. Yeah. The cows were your own pet cows at home. Whatever milk was left out, after the cows had the milk, it was used for our own use. Today, if any one of you have visited any dairy farm, I have one in Ahmedabad and one in other city. I'm trying to remember the name. It is in Rajasthan. So I visited a dairy farm in India. If we look at how milk, now let me make a disclaimer. I am not complete vegan. I am trying to become as much vegan as I can. My daughter is 100% vegan, and my wife is more vegan than I have. But I have those kashai I was talking about, attachment. So I have a sweet tooth. So I do give up at any rate. So if we look at currently how the milk production is done, number one, to produce milk, a cow has to be pregnant. And if the cow is not pregnant, cow cannot give milk. A typical cow's life cycle is between 16 to 20 years. That is the lifespan of a cow. But because these cows are constantly kept pregnant, their lifespan goes back to 12 years, 10 to 12 years. They are not, I could have showed you the video of a dairy farm and egg production, what we call it as these are not fertile eggs, how the eggs are produced. So under the current situation, we should be vegan to prevent any harm to 5-sensed living being. Unfortunately, a lot of our acharyas in India, many of them, we have not been able to convince them yet, but we are making that move. Day by day, we are, let's look at the last slide, I am sorry. Can you go to the last slide? Okay. So where we have a convention of all Jain organizations every 2 years, and for last 2 or 3 conventions, we are providing vegan food. Just during this month, in the July 4th long weekend, we had a convention of young Jains of America attended by close to 800 Jain youth in Dallas, Texas, and all 4 days of food was 100% vegan food. So we are giving it a push. People need, we need to become little bit more ultra modern thinking in trying to promote veganism. So that will be the ultimate thing. Any other question?
Hi, I was wondering if you had any strategies when you have angry thoughts that come into your mind. For example, when somebody pushed you off the bicycle, immediately different situations we have in our daily life. Immediately I might think, I don't act on it, but do you have a strategy to help those thoughts that are in my mind at times?
Yes, that's a $1 million question. Thank you. As it said in one of the slide, when we start looking at all living beings as you, we will immediately stop or think before harming any living being. As one of the slides said, that Jainism believes in life after death. So in one life, I may be a donkey, I may be a cow. How would I have felt if I'm being raised, given birth, only to be slaughtered? Once that thought crosses our mind, we will stop causing violence. Same thing I tell our Pathashala kids all the time. When your brother or sister gets mad at you, how bad do you feel? So when you get mad at your brother or sister, you feel the same. So if you want to feel good, you have to make other feels good. The happiness, there is a very good Sanskrit word for it. It is called mudita. What mudita word translates into? That my happiness derives from your happiness. I think it is the most fantastic word I have learned in my life. When my happiness is your happiness, that is when we become nonviolent in our thoughts.
Thank you.
My question is on your slide where you showed the how much vegetation could be if we stop killing animals, how much vegetation, extra vegetation could be produced. It's scientifically proved that 1 pound of meat or fish can provide a lot of nutrient for a human body. That is, to replace that nutrient with just the vegetation, you got to eat tons of vegetation. So my scenario is, so we all stop killing animals. So the animals goes out of control, their growth is out of control. And at the same time, we need more vegetation to eat to replace the same nutrient that we had been getting. So it is, in my mind, it's smart to manage the growth of any being. It's not only just, even for the vegetation, it needs, because that saves water, that protects the soil from artificial chemicals. So not doing anything is not the answer. That's what I think.
Absolutely, that is so true. And the only change I want to make is in the word killing. Actually, what is pathetic is they are raised or given birth and meant for killing. It is like if you look at Mahabharata, the Devaki, mother of Krishna Bhagwan, she was giving birth, and upon birth, Kans was killing each child. So it was with the hope that one day a killer of Kans will be born. And here it is Kans is a representation of evil. So when you are giving birth, fully knowing, but there is a purpose. But here, the cow is made pregnant continuously by means so that cow can give a birth. And when we go to the wheel industry, it is even more pathetic. If you read at how the wheel is produced, it will bring tears in your eyes. And many times I laugh at the double standards here. Recently, I read about some crime in some town, if I remember correctly, that the guy killed dogs with a gun and he was punished. So killing of dog is okay. Killing of cow and hog is not, that is not okay. And killing of dog is not okay. Yesterday, Dr. Fauci's lab had collected 1,000 small puppies for the research purpose. Research, so what his goal was to give them in medically what is known as a septic shock. And I'm a doctor by profession. So septic shock is the ultimate condition. So these puppies were to be given, artificially given a septic shock, and at least 1,000 of those puppies, they were released. And it makes me really laugh when President Biden or Trump or Reagan or Obama, they give that life to the turkey as if you own that life on Thanksgiving Day. Come on. I have no right on your life. You have no right on that poor turkey. How can you be giving a life to somebody just by releasing? Makes me laugh. Thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate the opportunity. Shravani, I want to thank you. Swamiji, thank you so much. And back there, Sandeep Bhai and Sandeep, I'm sorry. Yeah, for helping out with the audio video. Thank you so very much. Once again, in my talk, if I have unknowingly hurt you in my thoughts or by my speech, as it says in Jainism, Michhami Dukadam, please pardon me and forgive me. And that is the one of the saying, Khame mi savva jive, savve jiva khamantume, mitti me savva bhuesu, veram majjana kenai. Khame mi savva jive, that I ask for forgiveness. I forgive all the living beings, whether it is one sensed or a Sangni Panchendriya. I ask for forgiveness. I'm forgiving all the living beings. Mitti me sabba bhuesu, mitti maitri. Bhuesu is a bhuta, which is the jiva. All living beings are my friend. Mitti me sabba bhuesu, veram majjana keni. I have no animosity towards any living being of the universe. Thank you so much. Jai Jinendra, Jai Shri Krishna.
It was a wonderful talk, very lively, and so much you could learn. And the students of Vedanta, you must be enjoying his talk because most of the terminologies are known to us. And the way he was explaining, that is exactly what the Vedanta they do. But the goal that he mentioned, there we differ. That is why little differences. And the purpose of this particular institution, this home of harmony, is to know and learn. And all this we do under one caption, know and love. If we know, then we can love. Anakanthwat. If you read, it is so difficult to understand. But he so wonderfully explained and so simple way. And I appreciate when you say that Ahimsa and other things that you mentioned, that is applicable only for the monks and the nuns, those who can do it. But it should not be on the ordinary people who are in the field working. For them, very nicely, I really appreciate you, very excellent way you said these are the things you should do. And the happiness, that is our goal. Everything is happiness. And when we pursue for the happiness, we always target by mistake temporary happinesses. And then after achieving that, we are again unhappy. We go on like that. Thank you, Dr. Joshi, Mukesh Doshi ji. We will expect you to come over here once again. So can you please give a standing ovation for him? He gave a wonderful talk. Thank you. Please join us in a little tea and snacks. And we are going to celebrate today the one of our very active youngest member. Where is he? It is his birthday. We are going to celebrate that.